Hello, everybody. Okay, how's everybody doing out there today? All right, I promised you this week that we would do a quick preview of women's volleyball and women's soccer. Um, this week, before going later this week with Jason Hackwell and Jack's Florida Hawkeye, who is also known as Paul. So let's get started. First thing I want to do is I want to talk about the hamburger helper story that few of you asked about. Um, it's a story. I didn't want to spend time typing it up in comments and stuff in case you want to see that hamburger helper right there. Okay. A hand. It was given to me by a friend. Um, and long story short, I basically missing the tip of one of my fingers. It happened in a freak meat cutting accident back in 2005. Okay. Um, and so that gives me four, or actually three fingers and a thumb. Um, so my friend who was a fellow manager, I was a grocery store manager, and my friend who was a fellow grocery store manager who retired about a year or two before I did, about a year and a half, gave out gifts to everybody. Um, that he wanted to give out gifts to all the managers and stuff, and they were all silly gifts, and mine was that hamburger helper with the four hands because of my missing fingertip. And so I've always taken the brunt of the joke of that. There were a pair of black rim glasses glued to it. Um, we don't know what happened to the glasses. Somewhere along the move, it got misplaced. And so let's see if we can get his. Yeah, there we go. Let's get Herky up there a little bit. Um, so somewhere along the line, it got misplaced or fell off, and so we don't have that part of it anymore. But yeah, but my friend and fellow manager gave that to me, and I kept that in my office for the year and a half before I retired, and then I took it with me when I retired because it was mine, and we have proudly displayed it in both of our homes since we retired, um, very much, and so now it's in my office as part of my decoration. So it's a story, not much of one, but it is what it is. Okay. All right. So I would like to talk a little bit about, this is labeled my Iowa Hawkeye Sports, right after my Facebook page called Iowa Hawkeye Sports. And I wanted the page to be more than just football and basketball. And so, because that's what most of the pages are: football and basketball, men's basketball and the football. They leave out the women's basketball, they leave out the baseball, they leave out the softball, they leave out the volleyball, they leave out the soccer. And I'm proud to say that we've done some great coverages of the soccer team. Not as in 2020, we did a very good job of covering the soccer team. In 2021, not as much, but 2020 was the year that the Iowa women's soccer won the Big Ten championship tournament. And then I think they went on, and I think they won their first game in the NCAA, and I think they lost their second game. But if I remember right, that was a very close heartbreaker game that they lost by a goal. Um, and so that team made a very good account of themselves. Last year's team, we covered it, got off to a horrible, horrible start. Um, and so, or was it the actually was it it was the 2020 team that got off to a horrible, horrible start and then bounced back to win the Big Ten title at the end of the year. I'm trying to remember how last year's team did. I think they won some, lost some, but I think they lost more than they won. Um, so I'm not going to do much of a preview on them today because I don't have much to offer you. I've looked everywhere I can to find some stuff on them. And honestly, I was going to send the coach a question and answer sheet on that, and I did. I sent it to the team, um, trying to get a response back, and I never got a response back on that. So I apologize for that, because in 2020, when I sent for a response the same way, I got a very quick response and very cordial response, and I rewrote a very nice article for that article and video on it. And so I'm sorry that it didn't have the same. It didn't come up the same this year. However, we're gonna do one when when there's something to tell you about soccer. I do know that the soccer team has a game coming up August 7th, which I believe is Sunday. That's their home opener. They're gonna home opener against. And I'll get that for you. Let me do that real quick. We'll talk about that real quick, and we'll go from there. Okay, so Iowa opens up the game Sunday against Northern Illinois at 1 p.m. in Iowa City. Okay, they follow that up on August 12th with a game against Drake in Iowa City. Here's what I'm most excited about, because I love soccer. I used to coach soccer, and so that's what I get really excited about. On the 18th of August, they're coming to UCLA in Westwood, California. Now that's listed as a 9 p.m. game, but I'm sure that's Central's time, and so that would be 7 o'clock my time. As you know, I live in California. I probably live at about maybe I would say approximately 2 hours if the traffic is flowing pretty good from UCLA, and so that would be fun to go and watch that game. But I don't think I'll get to that game. I'm not comfortable driving on the freeways, and I believe I have to drive the 405 to get to UCLA, and I don't want to do that. Um, so okay, all right, and so however, they're coming to San Luis Obispo on the 21st, but it's a Sunday game at 8:30 in the morning. Okay, I must have a plane to catch that afternoon, so they have to get the game out of the way early. Um, Cal Poly is probably a 2-hour drive from me. But it's an easier drive, a drive that I'd be willing to make. And I've been on the Cal Poly campus. I don't know if you guys have ever been there or not, but it's a very beautiful campus. Um, and so I think I'm going to try to catch that game in person, maybe get a little video and see if I can't get an interview or two with some of the women's soccer players. So I'll be looking for that. I'm going to try to do that and get to that game. Probably go down the day before, the weekend before, spend Friday, Saturday at the coast there on the beaches, and then get up early and go to the game on Sunday morning. Then try to get some videotape and some interviews done and talk to some of the players, and then head back to my home in Bakersfield, which is about a 2-hour drive from Cal Poly. Okay, then they come back to play Kansas on the 25th, and then they play DePaul, and they play Pacific. They play Baylor. They play Baylor. And then they have Iowa State and Northern Iowa, which looks like finishes up their non-conference schedule. I used to go when I used to live in Hubbard and Urbandale. I've lived in both of them. Both of them reasonable driving distance from Ames. Whenever Iowa brought their women's team to Iowa State, I would make it a habit to go to all the Iowa games in Ames, and so I saw quite a few of them, and so um, yeah, I mean the Iowa State women have had at the time they had huge support from the local girls. That all the local teams would bring out their teams and stuff, and then the Iowa State women would throw out little trinkets and stuff to the girls and stuff in the stands and watching soccer. But they had a huge support, and they have a very nice home soccer field. Um, but not near as nice as Iowa women do. They have a better home soccer field. I've been there, and they've even done more updates to it since I was there years ago. Okay, and then they travel to Cedar Falls on September 11th to play UNI. The rest of the Big Ten Conference is Wisconsin, Michigan State, Ohio State, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Purdue, Nebraska, Northwestern, Penn State, and then to be announced, which I which I assume on October 30th would be the Big Ten tournament. And so that would depend on how they finish on who they play. Okay, so that's all you're going to get from me on soccer today. Let's go back and get a little more on volleyball. I thank you guys for hanging out and doing this. It is uh it is fun to do some of these things that normally don't get done. But volleyball had its Big Ten media days recently, and so I'm just going to read you through it real quick. I don't know how long this is going to take. This is the transcript from Iowa's portion. And as you guys know, that volleyball has a new coach this year, and Coach Barnes. Coach Barnes starts out by saying, "Good morning, glad to see everyone here." One of the soccer players' name is Toysey, and says, "I always want to make sure I say it right. I call her Toy." Okay, so her name is Toy. Okay, but it is Toysey. And AJ Amamaya, we're really just privileged to be here, grateful to be here, and it's incredible to be a part of the game-changing event. What the Big Ten has done, the athletic directors, SWAs, put all they could have into this day, and we really appreciate the work that the media has done here. Thanks for being here and promoting our sport. I think you're going to find out it's a win-win situation for both volleyball and you, because the sport is also on the rise, as everyone knows. Um, as a coach, you make decisions every day off, numbers off evaluations and observations, and then so the numbers I look at, half of the population over 50% women, so they drive a great big market, and their number one choice as a sport is volleyball. So he's saying that the volleyball is women's number one choice to play. And two of my grandchildren play volleyball. Okay. If you're seeing young girls choosing volleyball, their mothers bringing them to these volleyball tournaments, and their fathers on the sidelines really getting into the sport, it's something that's growing dramatically quick, and has a force that's been going on. If you add Big Ten Network with all the TV improvements that are happening in Media Day, I think you're going to see something very special grow here, and you're seeing a thing growth spurt of this sport that's about really to take off. We're grateful to be part of Iowa and helping Iowa get to the top of that. As you guys know, Iowa has not been that great in volleyball. Um, they're not one. They're not considered one of the top teams in the Big Ten, and they struggled. So this is the reason why they got a new coach, Coach Barnes. Okay. Question asked him: "You're not naive to the challenges that you took on. Can you talk about those as you head into the season?" Coach Barnes answers: "There are challenges. When I look at Iowa, I see gold mine. There's so much that Iowa has to offer, and to offer these players and incoming players that many places can. It bringing in this conference and having the opportunity to work into the biggest and best conference in the country is the big deal. When you look at Iowa and the commitment, you have people in the state who love volleyball. We can say one thing for sure: volleyball is huge in the state of Iowa. Um, we've seen it in the AAU tournaments. We've seen it in the high school level. Okay, so I'm just going to skip over the rest of that. I guess there were some rule changes about when the coaches can be in the gym. Coach Barnes has mixed emotions about that, and the two players that they had on the panel agreed with him. They were mixed emotion. They don't mind the fact that the coaches don't can't be with them all the time, but they miss the coaching and the technique and the and what they're um and the feedback that they could provide. Okay. Um. Okay. Okay. This coach has had success at Tulane, Baylor, and Wyoming, and he's always Baylor was at the bottom of the heap when they arrived, and I guess he got it to the top, the Big 12. Okay, so the two players just talk about how they like the way he carries himself, and how when he walks into a room he just commands attention. He's okay. He loves trust and communication, sacrifice. All that's the four pillars that they stand on as a team. That's what he stands for. Um, they're all just kind of battled with different personalities, and so he does. It shows like he cares. He's really a player's coach, and he really works to develop the trust of the players. And okay, okay, might have been a long time. All of a sudden, going into this year, you have a new coach. Okay, Amaya Jones is a senior who's been around. Um, this is her second new coach, so technically she's had three coaches in her 4 year career or 5 year. I'm trying to see what she said. I think she said she was 5 year career. Um, so they talked about some transfers. So Iowa volleyball this year has 7 transfers, 2 freshmen coming in, and more than half the team. That's more than half the team, but they have 8 returning to set the foundation for the group. So this coach has come in and looks like he's only recruited 2 high school players, and he's bringing the rest in as transfers. So he really wants to do what what's his name did at Michigan State last year. He brought in all those transfer portal players. He brought in all those transfer portal players and turned that program around in one season. Because of all the transfers. And it looks like he's going to do the same thing with volleyball, bringing all this experience and stuff, and try to turn that program around in one season. Okay. Okay. We just. Um. All right. Okay. It's just they're just talking about women's sports, how they need a little more recognition. Because the football players and basketball players get the most scholarships, and for women's sports, it's not the same. Not even in Iowa. Not really. And she said something about Caitlin Clark, so I think she's saying Caitlin Clark might be the exception. Um, so okay. Yeah, I didn't want to read all this stuff. It was kind of boring. Um, yeah, so he feels that he can get Iowa into a top 20 team. Um, so there you got it. There's just a small preview off of the media day challenges. I don't know a lot about this team yet. Um, I'm going to try to catch a little more volleyball than I have in the past. I will be watching soccer as much as possible because soccer. I coached soccer for years, um, mainly women's teams, but I did have a couple of boys teams too in there, but mainly women's team up through the high school level, and so we had some success along the way, and very proud of that success. So yeah, they don't give much on these guys. They just name the roster and they don't really give much else other than the class. Really, they're just telling you the class that these guys are at. They don't give you positions, stats, or anything about them in the past. The coaches. Well, there's several coaches, man. The coaches. There's a lot of coaches there. Um, so that's about all I got for that. Other than that, I don't have much else to say. The basketball, football, fall camp got started today. So that's good. Not a lot going on yet. Nothing really to go on, and so like I said, there's nothing real newsy yet to go on with the football and the basketball. I know that Iowa basketball is on got a couple of solid recruits that are really strongly considering Iowa. So um, hopefully we can find more out about that soon. How how that works out in Iowa's favor. I think there are a couple of big men. I believe one is going to be on campus this weekend or was on campus last weekend, and Luca Garza happened to be there. Or was it Luca Garza or was it Keegan Murray? one of those guys, or maybe both of those guys, were there to greet the visitors this weekend on their official visits, and so that could go a long way in swaying these guys. But I think one guy has it down to Syracuse and Iowa. You know, I gotta believe that Iowa's going to win on this one, but you never know. You never know. Syracuse has always had a semi-strong program. In the past, they were always a powerhouse, and they're still a top-notch program. I don't think they're as powerful as they once were, but they still are considered a decent program, and so maybe their name will help get them there. I don't know. So I'm gonna get out of here. I know this wasn't the usual podcast that you come to expect from me, and I hope we didn't bore you too much with the soccer and volleyball talk or the hamburger helper talk. So I'm just gonna get out of here, and we'll see you guys on Friday. I'm literally looking forward to Friday when the three of us get together and we talk a little offense for Iowa. And so, if you let that go. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Take care.